Good afternoon, and welcome to another installment in our Cancer Survivor to Financial Survivor series. Today, we are joined by Denise De Silva of Mississauga Community Legal Services. Denise has been working with Mississauga Legal Services for over 20 years. She is a licensed paralegal and practices in the areas of immigration law and income maintenance, which includes CPP Retirement, CPP Disability, Old Age Security, Ontario Disability Support Program, and Ontario Works. Denise is passionate about her work and enjoys working with low-income and vulnerable clients. Today in the webinar, Denise will cover what is CPP disability and the process to apply and appeal it, and also we'll cover what is CPP retirement, old age security, guaranteed income supplement, and survivor benefits, and who can apply and when. And with that, I would like to pass it over to Denise.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending this series. It's always a pleasure to present to the community and educate the community on what's out there and how we can avail of it. So I work with Mississauga Community Legal Services, and we're a legal clinic that's funded by Legal Aid Ontario. I was talking with Lindsay a little before this, and I know that some of y'all may be from different provinces. I know that Ontario has a legal aid system and a legal clinic system, and we are the legal clinic for Mississauga. Not every province has a legal clinic system, so I wouldn't know how you would be, who you would be able to contact to get um, legal advice. I can only talk about like what Ontario does and what the clinic system in Ontario does. So most legal aid clinics in Ontario are situated in big cities. So if you are in a big city, you probably have a legal clinic in your area. And legal clinics, just like us, provide advice in housing, social assistance, employment, and immigration matters. You would have to contact your legal clinic to get advice on whatever issue you might have. Legal clinics only provide legal advice to low income people. I would encourage you to call them anyways and let them check what the financial criteria is in order for you to get the advice you need. So today's presentation is meant to give you general legal advice. It is not pertaining to your particular situation. If you have any questions, I don't mind, and they are personal questions, personal to your situation. I wouldn't mind if they were sent to me privately and I can respond to them privately, but I don't encourage you to talk about your personal issue publicly, right? For those in Mississauga, if you are attending, our phone number's at the bottom. It's 905-896-2050. So getting down to it, what is Canada Pension Disability? So Canada Pension Disability or Canada Pension Plan Disability is a federal program, which means all of us in Canada are, regardless of the province, are eligible to apply for this should the need arise. So it's a disability benefit to people who have made contributions to CPP and who are disabled and cannot work at any job. What does this mean? For those of us who have worked in Canada, you know that a certain portion of your income goes towards CPP, and that is meant to be when you retire that you access that CPP, like your contributions that you've made over the years. However, if you get disabled before you retire, you can apply for Canada Pension Plan Disability. It is the disability program, and it depends on contributions that you have made. So if you have worked and made contributions and are disabled and not able to do any, and that means any kind of job, then you can apply for Canada Pension Disability. When I say any, it means if you were a corporate lawyer and you're not, and you're disabled, it doesn't mean that you can't do your corporate, you can't do your lawyer job. It means you can't be a parking attendant. So any kind of job, right? So the test for disability is really high. Um, and so it's kind of difficult to get, but we encourage people to get it, to apply for it regardless. So moving on, to qualify for CPP disability, you must have a disability that is severe and prolonged. The definition states for severe that you have a mental or physical disability that regularly stops you from doing any type of gainful employment. Prolonged means that your disability has an indefinite duration or is likely to result in death. So if you say that I have a broken leg, that disability, I mean, it's temporary, there are fixes, and it's not lifelong. I mean, it's not going to prevent you from working lifelong. However, if you do have a disease or a mental health disease or a physical condition that is preventing you from actually working and is going to be lifelong or result in death, then this is something you need to seriously think about applying for. Okay, so CPP disability is for people with a severe and prolonged disability under the age of 65 and meet the CPP contribution requirement. What does this mean? At 65, any benefit you receive. So if you're on welfare in your province, or if you're on disability in your province, or you're on WSIB, workers' comp, EI, anything, all those benefits stop at age 65 because retirement is supposed to kick in. So for CPP disability, you have to be under the age of 65 and meet CPP contribution requirements. I'm going to explain that in the next slide. So, so CPP contribution requirements, what does this mean? So when you actually apply for CPP disability, the criteria is that you have had to have worked 4 out of the last 6 years, or 3 of the last 6 years if you've worked and contributed for 25 years or more. It's this mumbo jumbo formula that the government uses. But really, when you apply, they look and see, okay, when did you apply? Say, for example, you applied in 2023. They will look at the last 6 years. And if you worked in the last 6 years and made what they call valid contributions, then you are eligible. What's a valid contribution? So say the government says, in order to qualify for 2022, you have had to have made $200 in contributions towards CPP for that year to count. So if you made 150 in CPP contributions, that year won't count. If you made 200 plus, that year counts. And those are the years that they use for 4 out of the last 6. It's kind of complicated to understand if you've never kind of dealt with it before. My advice to you is apply and let Service Canada do its job and come back and let you know whether you have contributions, you don't have contributions, and you can take it on from there. Okay, moving on. Oh, this is the one that we were talking about. So how to apply for CPP disability. So CPP disability is like I said, the federal program. I think Lindsay just posted the link to their thing on. Lindsay, do you want me to click on this? Yeah, this is just for everybody.
Yeah, this is for everybody. I've placed the link that's on the slide for everyone in the chat so that they can follow the link if they need to.
Okay, so the link will actually take you to the Service Canada website and will give you information on how you need to apply, what you need to do, what's the overview, what is CPP all about. So the actual application is, it used to be this really complicated application and they've made it really, really simple. That being said, it's also 19 pages long. But It asks you about your work history, where you've worked, what have you done, what age did you, like what year did you start working at, what age did you start working at, what kind of jobs you've done the last time you were employed. Then it goes on to talk about your medical conditions. So it gives you ample space to list all your medical conditions, um, any and all impairments that you suffer from regarding your medical conditions, the restrictions you suffer from concerning these conditions, the treatment you've had, any hospitalizations you've had, the names of your doctors, um, your specialists. And then it actually goes on to, which I quite like. It's about 4 pages, but it talks about your physical restrictions, your mental restrictions, your functional restrictions, and it lists these different things. And all you have to really say is you're rating it. For, you're saying it's like poor, very poor, good, not so good kind of thing. And it does this newer application does give you or give Service Canada um, the staff that are reviewing the applications a better insight as to what your medical condition is. It also, so when applying, there's a two-part application. One is for you as the applicant. The other part is for your physician to complete and send into Service Canada. The physician has to send it into Service Canada directly. Now, for CPP Disability, they have, for the application, there are 2 kinds of applications. One is for a person who is disabled, and the other is for a person who has a terminal illness, so resulting in death. What happens with those is that they are processed way quicker because it is a terminal illness. So they know, Service Canada knows that those kind of applications, the questions are very different. They pertain more to, like, what's the life expectancy, what's the diagnosis, what's the patient dealing with, what's the life expectancy, what are the restrictions, things like that. And again, it's a 2-part. You fill out the application, your doctor fills out the application. For the terminal illness application, the questions for the doctor are also different than for a regular disability application. So depending on what your circumstances are, when you go onto the website, it actually very clearly demarcates it. It's like for CPP disability, and then for CPP disability the terminal illness application, and then the medical reports come under each one. Okay. Once you apply to Service Canada, now I'm just going to talk about right now. I'm going to talk about when you like just a regular CPP disability application. When you finish completing your application, you send in any and all medical documents that you might have to help your case. Your doctor should also send in any and all documents that they have. They send it into Service Canada. Service Canada adjudicates on it, decides whether you qualify for CPP or you don't. If you don't qualify for CPP, they will then send you a letter saying, hey, listen, you don't qualify for whatever X, Y, and Z reason. And if you disagree, you have 90 days to write back to Service Canada requesting them to reconsider their decision. I encourage everybody to reconsider. Reason being is it gives you an opportunity to provide additional medical evidence. And you get a different set of eyes looking at the application because it doesn't go to the initial adjudicator, it goes to a different person. They might deny it as well. And if they do deny it, they will send you another letter, which is called the reconsideration decision letter. It's actually written on that. And if you disagree with that decision, you have 90 days to appeal to the Social Security Tribunal, which is the tribunal for Service Canada decisions for income maintenance. So it does EI and CPP disability and old age security. So just to go over this really quickly, you apply, Service Canada denies, you reconsider, Service Canada could potentially deny, you appeal, and it goes to the tribunal. The tribunal then takes over the file. What happens then is once you file an appeal, the tribunal is the in-between, you and Service Canada. So once you file the appeal, the tribunal writes to Service Canada to say, hey, listen, X, Y, and Z is appealing your decision. Give us a copy of the file. So Service Canada then sends the tribunal a copy of the file. The tribunal sends you what Service Canada sent to them. And the appeal process starts. Okay, I'm going to go back. So when the appeal process starts, oh, did I skip a few slides? Sorry. When the appeal process starts, from the time you file the appeal, you have approximately a little over a year to provide additional medical evidence. So if you say you file the appeal, but you know that a really important CT scan's coming or a really important MRI is coming, once you get those reports, as and when they come in, you can keep sending them into the tribunal. And the tribunal will, they create what you call the appeal file. So you get a copy, Service Canada gets a copy, and both parties have the exact same documents. For those of you who, it's a fairly simple, they have created a fairly simple system to navigate through. However, if you feel the need to get legal help, if you are low income, you can contact your legal clinic in your area. If you don't have a legal clinic, or you are above the income of a legal clinic and don't have the funds available to get a lawyer to help you, the tribunal actually has what you call navigators. So just like I am walking you through the system, the navigators are assigned to your file. They can't give you legal advice, but they will help you navigate through the system. So they will tell you, go and get more legal, go and get more documents, go and do this, go and do that. And once you've reached a point where there is no additional documentation to provide, and you're within that 1 year deadline, you have to file what you call a notice of readiness, after which the tribunal sets a hearing date. The hearing date is set. They do hearings via video conference, phone, in person, or Zoom, even at a Service Canada location. They've made it pretty accessible that way. Again, in my experience, for people who have never done this before, it can seem a little overwhelming, but the tribunal's members and staff are actually trained to accommodate. So it is, even though it may seem intimidating, it is actually not formal. It's not a formal hearing. It's more like a conversation where you actually go and are able to talk about your story and give your testimony regarding your medical condition and try and convince the member for the tribunal why you are disabled and why you are deserving of CPP disability. Okay. So any questions on CPP disability, or we can actually keep questions for the end? I think that might work. Okay. So moving on. What is CPP disability post-retirement disability benefits? So many disability words. Anyways, so this is a relatively new benefit that came out as of Jan 1st, 2019. What was happening was everybody knows about retirement pension. Everybody knows that when you turn 60, you can apply for early retirement, and when you turn 65, you can apply for regular retirement. But not many people knew or know about CPP disability. So what was happening, or the trend that was happening, was when people turned 60 and they felt they could no longer work, they were applying for CPP early retirement. But that shouldn't have been the case. I mean, because you could have applied for CPP disability had you known about it. So what Service Canada did was, for those people who were receiving CPP early retirement between the ages of 60 and 65, but were actually disabled and could have applied for CPP disability rather than early retirement, they encouraged them to apply for CPP disability, as long as they had only been getting retirement for, I think, less than 15 months. Yeah, more than 15. Oh, sorry. There was this, I think you couldn't have gotten it for 11 months or 15 months or something like that. So for people who had applied for CPP retirement, but should have applied for CPP disability between the ages of 60 and 65, there was that demographic of people that applied or were encouraged to apply for this post-retirement disability benefit. And that is who it benefits. Okay, the application process is the same. If you were granted CPP disability, during that process, your retirement your retirement pension was stopped, and you got onto CPP disability, and that would have carried you on till 65, when CPP disability would have stopped and your retirement pension would have kicked in. Okay, moving on. What is retirement pension? So CPP retirement is technically, I mean, there's no, you can, they say you're eligible to apply for it at 65. You can apply for it at 60. Now, I'm not, when I'm talking retirement right now, I'm not talking about any disability. I'm just talking about plain retirement. So you can apply for retirement between 60 and 65, but you will get less money than you would get if you applied at 65. How I like to explain it is, say, for example, you take a pot of money and you put, just say, 100,000 in it. And the 100,000 is your contributions over the years. So by the time you turn 65, you have 100,000 in contributions. And now when you turn 65 and you apply for retirement, they give you a portion of that 100,000 every year, taking into consideration life expectancy at that time and standard of living, right? However, so say, for example, they say life expectancy is 85. So you apply at 65 and they'll say, okay, we're going to divvy up this pot, this 100,000 for 20 years from 65 to 85, given the standard of living. And now every month you get a certain portion of it. But if you apply for that retirement pension at 60, now instead of 20 years, they're taking it in, they're dividing it into 25 years. So you will get less money than you would get if you applied at 65. So it says you will get 36% less than if you receive pension at 65. Similarly, the maximum age you can wait till you apply for CPP retirement is 70. You can't apply for it past 70. So if you wait till 70, they are now, instead of taking 20 years from 65 to 85, they are now taking 15 years. So you will get more money, which is 40% more than if you applied at 65. Okay. Survivor's pension. So survivor's pension is saying, say you are a couple and everyone's working, and both people are working, and one party passes away. The other person, as long as you are the next of kin, or the spouse or common law partner of the deceased contributor or the deceased person, you can apply for what they call survivor's pension. Now, what is survivor's pension? Survivor's pension is basically, what the government does is, if your spouse has passed, and you apply for survivor's pension, they will look into what the person's contributions have been over the years and take into the fact that if this person was 65 as of the date of death, what would their pension be? And whatever their pension is, and depending on your age as a surviving spouse, you get that income as survivor's pension. So it says you should apply. Okay. It says the amount you receive as a surviving spouse or common law partner will depend on whether you are younger or older than 65, how much and for how long the deceased contributor paid into CPP. Okay. And it says also that when you apply, CPP or Service Canada can only make back payments for up to 12 months. Okay. How much can you receive? So the amount you receive as a surviving spouse will depend on whether you're older or younger than 65 and how much the deceased contributor made. Service Canada calculates the amount of CPP retirement pension of the deceased, Service Canada calculates the amount that the retirement pension of the deceased is or would have been if the deceased had been age 65. Then a further calculation is done based on the survivor's age at the time of the contributor's death. So if you are 65 years or older, you will get 60% of the deceased person's pension. If you are younger than 65, you will get 37.5% of the deceased person's pension. Okay, so that's important to note, that they take into consideration how much that person would make or how much pension is owed to the person who died if they had been 65 when they died, and what your age as a survivor is. Okay, so the survivor pension starts at the earliest, the month after the contributor's death. So as soon as CPP has all the information, documents, your application will be processed. The survivor is tends to be the spouse or the common law partner of the deceased person. If you will get that for as long as you are alive. If you remarry, your survivor pension continues. It does not stop. Okay. Can I combine survivor's pension with other retirement pensions? Yes, you can. Service Canada basically combines all your benefits and gives you one payment. Child benefits. So what are child benefits? When you apply for CPP disability and you are under 65, you will apply for CPP disability. Part of the application is listing all your dependents, your children, how old they are, and what they're doing at the time of your application. If you get CPP disability, or if Service Canada grants you CPP disability benefits, your children get a monthly benefit. So your children get, it takes into consideration that, you're not working, but if you were working, what would your income be, or what would your entitlement be, and how much would be needed to kind of help these children, help you look after these children. So depending on how many children and what your pension contribution was, you will get a monthly benefit for your children. The same thing for, so it says CPP children's benefits provide monthly payments to the dependents' children of disabled or deceased CPP contributors. The child must be either under the age of 18 or between 18 and 25 in full-time school. A disabled contributor's child benefit for the child of a person receiving a CPP disability is a monthly payment for a natural or adopted child who is in the care and custody of the person receiving CPP disability benefit. A surviving child benefit for the child of the deceased, a monthly payment for a natural or adopted child who was in the care and custody of the contributor at the time of death. So if you are a surviving spouse younger than 65, you will only be eligible for 37.5% of the deceased pension. But if you have young children, or if you have children, they will also get child benefit as per Service Canada. Okay. The death benefit. So the death benefit is a one-time lump sum payment to the estate on behalf of a deceased CPP contributor. So what that is it's basically used towards funeral costs. It's not a very high benefit. It won't, in all probability, pay for the entire funeral, but it is something that can go towards the funeral. So if an estate exists, the executor named in the will or the administrator named by the court to administer the estate applies for the death benefit. And you should apply for it between 60 days of the date of death. If no executor has applied for the death benefit, payment may be made to other persons who apply for the benefit in the order of priority being the person or institution that has paid for the funeral expenses, the surviving spouse or common law partner of the deceased, or the next of kin of the deceased. Okay. Moving on. So old age security. So what is old age security? Old age security does not depend on contributions. It does not depend on how many years you have worked in Canada. Old age security depends on how much time or how many years have you lived in Canada. So it depends on residency and how many years you've lived, like physically lived in Canada. So it's a monthly benefit that comes to you after the age of 65. So before I get into it, I just want to kind of tell you that some people say, like, there's old age security. No. At the age of 65, typically in the ideal situation, an individual would apply for CPP retirement and old age security. Those two go hand in hand, right? Retirement pension, old age security. If combined, those two are below the standard of living and you are deemed low income, the guaranteed income supplement kicks in. Okay, so I'll get into that down the line. But very important to know that old age only kicks in at 65. You can apply for retirement pension at 60, but you cannot apply for old age security at 60. So when people actually come to us and say, you know, I'd like to apply for, I'm tired and I can't work anymore, and I'd like to apply for early retirement, my advice to them is don't apply for early retirement unless you have investments and other things to back you up, because the only thing you're going to get is your retirement money, and you're going to get less of it because you're applying between the age of 60 and 65. And you're not going to get old age security because you can't apply for old age security prior to 65. So what tends to happen for people who don't know information or don't know enough about it and apply for early retirement, they tend to get like $300 or $400 a month because it's solely based on their pension, and they're getting less of it because they applied early. That's the only thing you're going to get because you're not working, you're not disabled, and really there's no other income coming from any other sources. So my advice to anybody is if you can hold on till 65, apply for retirement and old age at 65. So what is old age security? Old age security is you have to have lived in Canada to get the maximum amount of old age security. You have had to lived in Canada 40 plus years from the age of 18 onwards. If you've been in Canada your entire life, and you've worked and whatever, but if you've lived in Canada your entire life, by the time you turn 65, you're getting the maximum benefit of old age security. If you have lived in Canada 20 years or more, you can get this old age security anywhere in the world. So you can decide to now buy a house in the Bahamas and you will get your old age security sitting in the Bahamas. But if you have lived in Canada less than 20 years, you can only get old age security as long as you continue to live in Canada, and Canada is your home. If you have lived in Canada less than 10 years, you are not entitled to old age security. So I hope that's not too complicated, but basically, I'll go through it really quickly. If you've lived in, after the age of 18, if you've lived in Canada 40 plus years, you are entitled to the maximum benefit from old age. If you've been in Canada 20 plus years, you can get old age any part of the world that you decide to live in after you retire at 65. If you live in Canada between 10 and 20 years, you can only get it if you continue to live in Canada, and less than 10 years, you are not entitled to receive old age security. Okay. I'm going to now focus a little bit on the what do you call it? The group that gets old age security, the 10 to 20 years, the group that gets old age security but has to live in Canada to get it, right? And you can't be outside of Canada and get it any part of the world. Okay, so that group of people, if you decide, so what is it old age? Old age is based on residency. But if you keep traveling, say, to your country of origin, or you keep going away for 6 months or more, and Service Canada finds out that you've been away for 6 months or more, they can stop your old age security and they can request for you to pay it all back to them. That's a big hit. Also, if you say, oh, I live in Canada, but I kind of I don't go for 6 months, but I go for 3 months every year, that still means that it's based on residency. So if you keep going to the same country every year for a specific period of time, it means you have another home, right? You can't say, I'm going on vacation for 3 months, because nobody can really afford a vacation of 3 months. You are able to go to a certain place, a certain time of year for a 3-month period because you actually have some stability in that country for you to be able to sustain yourself living there. So once Service Canada finds out that you are traveling back and forth for extended periods of time on a regular basis, and they flag you, it's a nightmare to start providing information to convince Service Canada that you don't have a home elsewhere and you aren't going back regularly, because they will ask for boarding passes, travel history from Canada, from CB, like Canada Border Services. They will ask for travel history from the country that you are going in. They will ask for passport copies, dual citizenship copies, dual passport copies, banking statements from that country, banking statements from this country. It is a nightmare to provide all that information. So my advice to you is don't do it. Like, save yourself some stress. Do it sporadically if you have to, but don't put yourself in that position, because once they determine that you do not meet residency and they determine that you have to pay it all back, there is an appeal process. But by the time they've made that decision, they've got all the information in a row. They have their information and they're dinging you with that overpayment. Okay, moving on. So yes, I just went through this: living inside Canada, living outside Canada. So I'll come back to this, but I want to touch on the guaranteed income supplement. So the guaranteed income supplement I mentioned earlier was when you retire at 65, you get CPP retirement, you get old age security. And when you combine the income from both of those things, if you do not have any investments or any other savings or anything else to sustain you, they will, and based on the standard of living, if they feel you are below the standard of living, they will give you the guaranteed income supplement. For quite a few low income people, the guaranteed income supplement is the real booster, because they've barely lived, like they've lived in Canada maybe a little over 10 years. They haven't worked in Canada all that much. So their pension retirement is low, their old age security is low. So the guaranteed income supplement really boosts them up. So sometimes the guaranteed income supplement is the money maker. It is a higher of all three incomes, right? Um, but the guaranteed income supplement depends on the income you made for the previous year. So it is very, very, very important for you to file your taxes on a regular basis because the guaranteed income supplement, sorry, because your taxes determine whether you are eligible for the guaranteed income supplement for the following year or not. So if you don't file your taxes, Service Canada will turn around and say, we don't have your tax information, so you're not getting guaranteed income supplement. But if you are depending on that guaranteed income supplement to help you pay your rent or help you with everything, and you stop getting it, you take a big financial hit. So that is as far as being eligible for the guaranteed income supplement. It is income dependent. So say, for example, you receive guaranteed the GIS. If you receive the GIS every month in 1 year, and then you get this big, say you win the lottery, and you file your taxes, and now your taxes have gone up because it's showing you won this lottery and you've made this income from this lottery, you won't be eligible for the guaranteed income supplement the following year because your income went up. So if your income goes up, your guaranteed income supplement for the following year goes down. If your income goes down, your GIS for the following year goes up, right? The same rule applies for the guaranteed income supplement as old age. Actually, the same rules do not apply for the guaranteed income supplement and old age security when it comes to residency. Guaranteed income supplement is like a subsidiary of old age security, right? It comes under old age security. So if you are, it is a subsidiary of old age security, but you cannot be out of Canada for more than 6 months at any given time. Doesn't matter if you've been in Canada 20 plus years, 40 years, 10 years, nothing. You cannot get this GIS if you have been out of Canada for more than 6 months on a regular basis any year, right? So again, so I'll give you an example. Say you have been in Canada 10 to 20 years, you are getting CPP retirement, you're getting old age security, and now you're getting the guaranteed income supplement. But the GIS is the big value. It's you're getting 600 between CPP retirement and old age security, and now say you're getting 600 from those two, and now the guaranteed income supplement is about 800 to pull you up to like 12 to $1,400 a month. Okay. If you go out of Canada on a regular basis, year after year, and Service Canada picks up on it, they will ding you with an overpayment for old age security, and they will ding you with an overpayment for guaranteed income supplement. That tends to be close to $800, $900 a month, depending on what your income is. And they can go back from the time you started receiving it. So we have had clients in the past who owe $60,000, $50,000 because that is large sums of money over an extended period of time. So my advice to you again is, if you're going on vacation, go on vacation. If you're going away for an extended period of time, contact Service Canada. Let them know you are leaving. They will stop your GIS. They will stop your old age security. They will put it on hold for the time that you are away, the 5 or 6 months that you're away. And when you come back, they will reinstate you. They don't have a problem doing that. It is the fact that you are receiving it when you shouldn't be receiving it. Okay. Moving on. Oh, I'm done. Is that right? Hold on. So yes, can your guaranteed income supplement stop? Yes, your guaranteed income supplement can stop. One, if you don't pay taxes. Two, if you are out of the country periodically. If you're in jail, things like that, they can stop your guaranteed income supplement. Okay, I am ready to take questions. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
So we did have some questions that came up throughout your presentation. And so I will start from the top and we'll work our way through.
Okay.
So the first question we had come in was, what defines low income?
Um, for what purpose though? For legal clinics, low income, or for like the standard of living, like the general population of Canada?
I think based on when I saw this question come in, it was probably in regards to the legal clinics.
Okay. So there is an income criteria which is set by Legal Aid Ontario, and it depends on the number of people in the family unit. So it's not like they're in the sense is that the chart really gives you how many children, how many adults. So unit of 4 people, if this is the family combined income, then anything above that is like if you fall below that, you qualify financially for services for the legal clinics. So it's a big chart actually. So I can't really go over the chart with you. You'd have to kind of contact your legal clinic in your area and they'd be able to go through that with you.
Okay. So our second question that came in was, if you are on CPP disability, you are not eligible for CPP retirement at age 60. Is that correct?
Sorry, say again?
So they're asking, if you are on CPP disability, you are not eligible for CPP retirement at 60. Is that correct?
That's correct. Because if you get CPP disability, it is meant to be a lifelong disability. So it will carry you all the way to 65. So if you are 40 and you apply for CPP disability and you get it, it is meant to take you all the way to 65, after which you then transition to retirement and old age security.
Okay, so it would bridge that gap between early CPP retirement and regular CPP retirement.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Our next question is, does a survivor get a CPP pension benefit if the deceased was receiving CPP disability benefit, or did the deceased have to be working?
You will get CPP disability, whatever that person was getting when they passed away. If it was CPP disability, they will then treat it like a pension. They will convert it to a pension, and based on that is what the survivor would get.
Right. And the survivor is the spouse, common law partner, or a child if it's been.
That's right.
All right.
If there's no spouse, so if there's no spouse and there is a child, then the child becomes the survivor.
Okay. Perfect. The next question is, once you are approved for CPP disability, who do you contact at CRA to deduct appropriate income tax so you are not stuck with a huge payment at tax time?
Ah, that's an interesting question. Um, I always encourage people to actually contact their accountants or like I don't know the answer to that question, but I kind of tell people to talk to their financial advisor or somebody who knows more as to what is an appropriate percentage or an appropriate amount to deduct, so that it's not painful at tax time.
Okay.
Who in CRA you would contact, I really don't know.
Okay. So your recommendation would be to go either through their accountant or whoever does their taxes with them.
That's right.
Okay. And they would probably know then who to contact at CRA.
Probably, yes, yes.
Yeah. All right. And the next one asks, are there any benefits other than CPP disability for cancer patients?
So depending on your, so CPP disability is the federal program, and it is the, uh, so I'll just give you like a rundown of what would typically happen when, say, somebody is sick, right? If you've been working, you would first typically apply for uh, EI sick benefits, EI regular benefits, EI sick benefits. And once that kind of runs, there's really nothing. No, CPP disability is it.
Okay, so there are other benefits prior, but the CPP disability would be the one that would carry you forward.
That's right. And there is benefits for the caregiver through Service Canada. So for anybody who's like, who has to give up a job to look after somebody who is like, who has cancer, or basically has to look after somebody and not able to go back to their regular job, you can apply for EI benefits for the caregiver. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, I believe you're right. It's through EI, but it's a caregiver benefit specifically.
That's right.
Mhm. All right. And then our next one asks, can we find out who to contact at CRA? Oh, I think that's a follow-up to our other one. Um, so we can do some looking into that, and we can post that as a following comment on our recording of this webinar. And
Okay.
so be sure to the person who's asking or people who are asking, be sure to um, read the comments under our video to see
Right.
where we have gone forward to find out that contact information for you.
Okay.
And our last question that we have is, how will okay, so this is basically they're asking, will disability insurance, oh, I have, sorry, there's a typo. So they have disability insurance. Will it diminish the amount that CPP gives?
Disability insurance like LTD? Are we talking that? Or that's more likely to happen. Will it diminish the amount that CPP disability gives? So long-term disability. So for people who are working and have long-term disability available through their work, when you are sick and you apply, the first thing that the company will tell you is apply for long-term disability. If you are sick, that processing time is way quicker than CPP disability's processing time. So you will probably get long-term disability. Long-term disability will always, always be more than what you would get through CPP disability. So what happens is once you're on long-term disability, the insurance company then says, okay, you need to start applying for CPP disability, and they'll keep pushing you to apply for it. So say you apply for it and you get CPP disability. So for example, CPP, say the long-term disability is giving you $1,000 a month, just for example. And when you get CPP disability gives you $800 a month. What the insurance company will do is then top up so you get CPP of 800 and they'll top you up by 200 to make you get what they were giving you, right? So if you get on LTD and you will if you get on LTD and then somewhere along you apply for CPP disability, you will still end up getting what you were getting on LTD, but it's a combination of long-term disability and CPP disability, if that answers the question.
I think it does. So basically what you're saying is that when you apply for CPP disability, if you've already been on long-term disability, CPP disability takes over the main payment,
Right,
but your long-term disability will top up to what you were receiving prior to getting your CPP disability.
that's right.
Okay. So they end up sharing it, but the the CPP disability takes over the main payment of what you were receiving.
Right. But also there are advantages to it. Advantages being when you are on long-term disability, they are not making contributions towards your CPP retirement, right? So if you are 40 years old and you're getting long-term disability, you're getting money from the insurance company, but the insurance company is not making contributions towards your retirement pension for when you turn 65. But when you are getting CPP disability, they are making contributions towards your retirement. So when you actually do retire, you get a substantial retirement pension because it was like, even though you were on disability, it was like you were always making contributions towards your retirement.
Okay. So it ends up being that you your CPP for retirement at 65 still grew because you applied for CPP disability.
That's right.
Okay. Very important to consider.
Hmm.
And we have we have time for one last question. And they would just like for you to expand on what is considered prolonged and severe illness.
So severe is a disability which is physical or mental that prevents you from doing any kind of job, right? So it's not that the condition has to be severe. It is how that condition is for you. How severe is it for you? Because I could be diagnosed with schizophrenia and be on medication and be able to function, and you could be diagnosed with schizophrenia, be on the same medication, and it doesn't have the same effect on you, right? So it is how severe is your medical condition, physical or mental, that prevents you from doing any kind of job, right? And it's different for everybody. Prolonged is that this physical or mental condition is a lifetime thing. It is not going to get better for you. You have to live with it for the rest of your life, or it will result in death. So that is what they consider prolonged, that it is a lifelong condition or it is going to result in death.
Okay. And so the prolonged part is pretty clear. The severe illness part is what's going to be helped by your doctor submitting those forms for you.
That's right. So, like I said, your doctor, I could have schizophrenia, and my doctor can turn around and say, Denise has schizophrenia, but is on medication, and she has, say, periodic episodes, right? But is able to work part time, right? You could be diagnosed with schizophrenia, be on the same medication, and the doctor can even turn around and say, is on the medication's not helping, the medication is this, like basically we've tried whatever we can and this condition is not getting better. The client cannot cope with it, but they're at their limit with medication, right? Like you can't go any higher. So a lot depends on what the doctor puts in the application. I always encourage clients that, to take the medical portion of it and go to the person or the specialist that knows you the best. Who's going to advocate for you? Because sometimes your specialist knows you better than your family doctor.
Right. Okay. And not so much a question, but a comment to what we're talking about. Someone has put here that there is a list of 30 or so diseases or disorders that are considered severe illness or terminal on the application form, if they recall correctly. Um, and so I guess through the process that you were explaining, it'll clearly define, and if you fall into one of those on the list, it'll make it the application process easier.
Right, but it's not about the medical condition as much as the impairments and the restrictions which are severe. So it's
Okay.
not like the medical condition is severe. It is, how is it for you? How severe is it for you?
Okay. Wonderful. Well, that's all the questions and comments we had at this time. If any more come up for Denise or for us at the Canadian Cancer Survivor Network, please feel free to reach out to our info@survivornet.ca email. And at this time, I'd like to thank Denise for your time and the presentation today. It was very informative and I'm sure very helpful to a lot of people.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And if everyone else wants to keep up to date with our Cancer Survivor to Financial Survivor series, you should sign up for our newsletter to receive notice of all upcoming topics. And don't forget that our webinars are recorded so that they can be posted on YouTube and our Facebook page. And so with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.